Hey everyone, how are you? It's the Library Love Fest team coming to you from our various ports in the storm, and we are happy to bring you another episode of Door to Door, from our door to your door. We're here to bring you some good news about books and an author interview / reading. So we're very excited to be seen, and we want to start with some really cool news about a book that went on sale today. And I'm going to turn it over to Lainey Mays. Lainey.
As you have probably heard, today they announced on the on-sale date that Elizabeth Wetmore's Valentine is going to be a Jenna Bush Hager Today Show book club pick for April, the book club pick for April. And I was so excited because if you know two things about me, well, three: podcasts, true crime, and I love Valentine. So we've been talking about this. I don't even know how long we've been talking about this book. We talk about it everywhere. I talk about it everywhere. We're all big fans, and we love Elizabeth, but this debut is truly stunning. Like, it's one of my favorite books I've ever read. I've read it twice. And so when the announcement came out today, we're ecstatic. Like, a debut that, and this book is just so hauntingly resonant and sadly timely, even though it's set in the 70s. And so just a quick recap of the book if you don't know, because you need to go get it now. But it's set in the 70s in Texas, and it's about a crime around a young girl who is a first-generation immigrant. Her mom's from Mexico, and that she escapes with her life from the oil field after a brutal attack by this kind of like good old boy in the town. And then so the rest of the book is from that moment to the trial and beyond, and all the women's perspectives in town. And so it's only told by women, which is really cool and an interesting way to do it. But it's a compact book because there's no spare words. Like, it is very, like, everyone is meaningful, and it's truly beautiful. And I have a few quotes that I was gonna point to. There's so many, I won't read them all. Like Ann Patchett, Elizabeth Gilbert, Chris Offutt, which weirdly was one of my professors in college. He says it's a beautiful book written with compassion, understanding, and deep honesty, a remarkable debut. There's a great one by Bryn Chancellor, who wrote Sycamore, and actually there's a fun story behind how Bryn kind of got this book they share an editor, so how she got this to the editor. And if you want more information on that, there's an interview with her editor and me on our podcast, so check that out. I'm just going to read a few words because it's such a wonderful quote. You should look it up. But it just says, okay, hold on. Lays bare what beats inside, a world at once ferocious, fragile, and furious, where women and girls fight menace from every fangled quarter, land, animal, human, but fight they do for themselves, for each other, and for what's right. And it's a wonderful quote. It goes on and on. I won't read it all here, but there's a reading guide that's going to be up soon on hc.com, and they have this cool drink recipe called the Salty Dog that will be there. And again, I love this book so much, so just to see it get its come up, and it's so exciting for other people to love it as much as I do. So we're very happy. So congrats to Elizabeth Wetmore.
Congrats, Elizabeth. We all love this book. And you can also see Elizabeth speak. We recorded her at ALA Midwinter, what feels like years ago. It was only a matter of months, I suppose. She did the debut authors panel at ALA Midwinter and just blew the roof off. She's so eloquent, and just she tells the story of writing this book so beautifully. It's really an incredible talk. So, and I know, Lainey, you were there as well. Like, it's something. So some really great background for the book. So
thank you for remembering it. So there will be a post in a little bit on Library Love Fest with links to that video and our podcast and the Today Show. You can go check out the official. Oh, I can show you, actually. I have this up. Or I did. Maybe I don't anymore. Well, I don't anymore. Sorry.
What are you going to show?
But I was going to show the Jenna Bush picture with it. But That'll
Oh,
be on the blog too. So
yeah. I'm just going to echo, Lainey has been so passionate about this book. And we all loved it. As we've said before, a lot of times, we have very different reading preferences, but I think what our hearts just, you can't not love this book. I mean, colleagues at other houses just said, "Oh my God." I mean, it's really powerful, just beautifully written, and just from the mouths of these women and their perspectives and what was going on in that time in the 70s in Texas, and how this horrible thing, this brutal attack was played out, you know, in people's homes, and how their perspectives on things in class, and it's unbelievable. It's really it's quite well done, to say the very least. And the other thing I wanted to say was when Chris and Lainey went to hear Elizabeth Wetmore speak at the panel at ALA Midwinter, and I stayed back at the booth. We were just sort of, tag teaming with all these things. And so they went to that. I don't ever remember a reaction like what these guys had. Remember you guys, when you came back to the booth and you were just, both of you were just like, "Oh my God, it was amazing. It was so amazing." And I was like, so man, I missed it. Except that Chris videotaped it. So it's there for you all to see, and magical, just, in this very unassuming way. Wouldn't you say, she's
very down to earth,
very understated,
yeah,
and eloquent and heartfelt and smart, and it's just beautiful. So
yeah, I'm excited about this one.
So glad that eyes are, so much attention is going to be paid to this book because of the Jenna Bush Hager pick. I love that. I just love that. So anyway, yep, more to come on that. And Lainey will give you guys all the posts, the links to the posts. And, and Jenna Bush Hager is a Texan. So, I mean, part of that speaks to her. And, it's cool. It's really cool. Couldn't happen to a nicer person too.
On Instagram, she said that she learned about the book from a local bookstore in Texas that knew her reading style and that she was from there. And so that was a cool story to hear too.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And Jenna Bush Hager gives a shout out to libraries on the announcement today on the Today Show. And she talks about like how you can get the book. And we all know that there are problems right now, God knows, many, and getting books, is certainly a challenge, but they are there, and the ebook is there. And so, but she does, I love that her mom was a librarian, and so she's quite open and aware of that, and talks about libraries being, doing some really wonderful things, especially now. So, okay. So congratulations, Elizabeth Wetmore. Now we're going to talk about books, and then we're going to have our author interview / reading. So we told you every time we're going to do this twice a week. We're going to mix it up every single time, and sometimes there'll be authors, and sometimes we'll talk about lots of books. But today we're going to do our book a minute. So we have each of us is going to talk about one book for 1 minute ish, and I actually don't know who's going first, but I don't know, Lainey, you should go first.
Oh, okay.
We do that.
Chris, you got to do it. Bring it.
I'm warmed up.
All right, everybody, chair dance.
Okay.
It's our book a minute theme song.
I hope I'm not held to a minute, but I'm gonna try. Okay, so I want to talk about Unspeakable Acts by Sarah Weinman for my book a minute. And this is such a cool true crime anthology. I told you true crime, and podcast is going to make its way back in a minute. So true crime anthology, 13 stories written by Sarah Weinman, who wrote The Real Lolita, which check that out if you like true crime. It's so great. But she's written other books, The Women Crime Writers, 8 Suspense Novels of the 40s and 50s, and Troubled Daughters, Twisted Wives. She knows true crime. She knows this space. She has the Crime Lady newsletter. And this is like, no one else could do it because she's so responsible in the way she talks about and looks at true crime, and she's just accumulated all these 13 stories in a perfect arc of true crime, modern true crime, contemporary true crime. That covers some really like classic stories in the true crime genre, but also there's this next section of like conversations within what's going on now, because it's really in the media, and people, and they say more popular, which she argues maybe it's not more popular, maybe it's that we have more access to it. And then also the third part of this is like criminal reform and how we have those conversations. So it's really talking about agency and our social responsibility when it comes to being lovers of this genre, and how you can talk about victims and not make them just the victim. You can make them a round person. I could go on and on, but you can hear from Sarah herself on our podcast because I interviewed her, and she is so smart and just so thoughtful in every word she says. And I truly just go check it out. Even if you're not a true crime fan, I mean, if you're not a true crime fan, this is okay. It's not like anything gory or like intense. This is, you can do it. Don't worry. And I think it shows a greater story of like what we're talking about and what we're doing within the universe of this for greater, making things safer, and like I said, agency for victims. So Unspeakable Acts, Sarah Weinman, probably way more than a minute. I'm sorry.
It was a minute in Zoom time.
It's a minute of, I mean, when you love something, it's so hard to stop.
Yeah. But I guess we'll go on to the next book. Should I go?
All right. Sure.
All right. So I'm going to talk about The Distant Dead by Heather Young, which is also a Virginia Stanley favorite. Maybe I'll be super fancy here and show the jacket. Can I do that? Here we go. Here's the jacket. Right. All right. So Heather Young, The Distant Dead. This takes place in a small kind of poverty-stricken Nevada town, rural town. For some background, Heather Young wrote The Lost Girls, which was critically acclaimed. And this novel basically centers around a cast of characters who are connected by a man, this local school teacher, whose body was found just completely burnt in the middle of this field in Nevada. And they're all kind of bound by the relationship to this math teacher, the mystery of his death, but also bound by trauma. You have a woman who's kind of taking care of her father, who's drunk and is reeling from his own mistakes. And then you have also this young man who's, I think, just like the heart of this book. This young man, Sal, who's a sixth grader who lives with his uncles on this very dilapidated old house, again, in this Nevada town. And he doesn't have his parents. He has a very like active imagination, and he was really close with his math teacher. And so he's, with a child's mind, kind of grappling with certain things that he knows that no one else knows about this teacher and his death, and also things about kind of the community at large. It's really beautiful. Again, it has that mystery element about what happened to this math teacher, who killed him, who set him aflame in this horrific, crime, but also, again, what is connecting these characters in this town. But I just loved Sal so much, and his flights of imagination actually kind of reminded me of Renee Denfeld in some way. I was thinking about that because she's the author of The Child Finder and The Butterfly Girl, and she provided a great blurb for this: bright, flawless writing, wonderful characters, and a sense of pacing that ratchets up the tension. What more could you want from a thriller? Also got a great starred book list review, starred Kirkus review. Book list said stunning and ideal recommendation for fans of Kate Atkinson. I think that positions it really well. I just think it's a beautiful, amazing, incredible kind of literary thriller. I'm just so taken by it. So again, that was probably more like 2 or 3 or 4 minutes. So apologies. But that's The Distant Dead by Heather Young. It's coming on sale. It's going on sale June 9th. So eGalley is available. We'll post links for everything.
All right. Okay.
I have your jacket pulled up, but can I show Unspeakable X before I
Yes.
forget?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Here it is. Unspeakable X. So,
That's such a great jacket.
yeah, it's very cool.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, I have yours ready whenever.
You do? Mine? Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you. Okay, guys. So the book I'm going to talk about is The Silent Treatment by Abby Graves. This goes on sale April 7th, and it's a debut, and it's about a couple who hasn't spoken. They have not spoken to each other in 6 months. It's called The Silent Treatment for a reason. This is Frank and Maggie, and they have been married for quite some time, but for the last 6 months, they haven't said a word to each other. They eat together, they sleep in the same bed together, they live together, obviously, but they don't speak to each other. And it's making her crazy because he was the one who stopped speaking. And when he comes into the kitchen one morning and he finds her collapsed at the kitchen with a bottle of pills nearby, he just absolutely falls apart and gets her to the hospital, and they put her into this medically induced coma to try and save her life. And now you start to see through his mind and thoughts what was going on and what started this whole thing. This is great for book clubs. There's so many issues: motherhood, mental illness, family issues, trust, lies. I'm not even going to tell you because I want to tell you too much about it and I'll ruin it. Sometimes I do that. As I say, it's sort of like taking the layers of an onion, you're peeling it away and you're finding out what had happened there. So that's the framework of this book. I just want to read a couple of quotes for you because there's a lot of love for this debut book. Julie McMillan says that this pulses with emotional tension. Abby Graves masterfully unpicks a history of ordinary lives facing extraordinary challenges. I found it impossible to look away from the relationship at the heart of this novel. Meg Mitchell Moore, author of Two Truths and a Lie and The Islanders, she loves it, calls it a gorgeous heartbreaker of a novel. Susan Wiggs, we all love Susan Wiggs. She says, Abby Graves held me spellbound with this intimate, emotional story of the brutal power of silence and ostracism. Yet, this deep dive into a troubled marriage is ultimately uplifting as Frank and Maggie make their way through the challenges of isolation, mental health, aging, and the yearning for connection. This is for authors of, for people who love The Notebook or Me Before You. It's great for book clubs. There's a really cool letter from the editor on Edelweiss. So if you can get to Edelweiss, go to the page, click through. There's a neat kind of backstory and why she loved this book so much. And just, the silent treatment. We've all been there. We've all had this happen to us at one point in our lives. Somebody's not talking to us. Why? How long do you let that go on until you just sort of lose it or you lose that person? So anyway, that's The Silent Treatment, Abby Graves, going on sale April 7th. I hope you like it as much as I did. There, none of us kept to a minute, and we don't care.
It's still significantly less than usual.
Well, that's true. We're less than usual. So if we say a minute, it'll be 5, and that's better than 25. Oh, it's so madcap here, isn't it? Under our virtual tiki huts, which Lainey and I can't seem to manufacture. But here we are. Now, Chris, we're going to invite our author to our door-to-door virtual tiki hut.
All right.
Megan Giddings.
Megan Giddings. I just let her know, so she should be with us within a couple minutes.
Reminder that we're taking any comments of what you're doing at the library or outside the library to keep it safe and clean. We have some with things already we're typing up, so we'll keep it on the website as it goes. So let us know what.
Yes, thank you, Lainey. Wendy Wilson, the last Facebook Live we did, we asked people to chime in and, anything that anybody has learned or heard that we can share. Wendy Wilson Bartlett from the Cuyahoga Library was nice enough to share a public service announcement video, which I watched and I put it right to the test. And it's on Library Love Fest, right, Lainey?
It will be, yes.
It will be, okay. And it's all about how to go grocery shopping and then bring those goods in and what to do with them to make sure that, or to try your best to, keep everything clean and safe. So thank you, Wendy, for that. And if anybody has anything else that they want to share, some libraries are loaning their 3D printers to doctors who are printing out masks. I mean, it's sort of unbelievable what people are doing. So share your stories with us, because we would love to learn about them and share that information with others.
Okay. And Megan, I think, is with us. So I'm going to bring her on now. Let's see. Megan, are you with us? There you are. Hey, Megan.
Hey, everybody.
How you
Hi.
doing?
I'm doing okay. How are all of you?
We're surviving. We're doing our, that's not the best choice of words. We're doing okay, though. And thank you for joining us. And we're recording, so we're here. And I think, Virginia, anything we want to say before we head into Megan's presentation?
Yeah, first of all, again, to echo Chris, thank you, Megan, very much for joining us and taking this time to speak to librarians about your book. So your book, Lakewood, went on sale. Hey,
Oh, there it is.
love that jacket. Do you love that jacket?
Oh, I love that jacket so much.
Yeah,
So great.
love that jacket. Yeah. So it's gotten some wonderful reviews. Kirkus, Publishers Weekly, says this is an eerie debut that provides a deep character study spiked with a dose of horror. So as I say, it went on sale March 24th. It's just a little over a week old, or not just a week old. Today it's a week. Happy birthday, Lakewood. So we're calling it The Secret Life of Henrietta Lacks, mixed with the brilliant and terrifying imagination of Jordan Peele. Do you feel that that sort of sizes up your book? And would you like to give everyone a little description of the book and anything that you want to share with us? And a reading we hear you're going to give us. So we're going to just let you take it away.
Okay. Well, I'm from the Midwest, so all of those compliments always makes me feel a little bit like, But sure, that's what the book is like. It's both of those superlative things. Thank you. So I wrote Lakewood over about 5 years. I started back in 2014, and then I ended with my editor in 2019. And some of the root for the book was it was about writing about those small towns that you drive through in the Midwest that are both very beautiful and small and quaint. And you also kind of start thinking, like, what is going on here? Because there's just sort of this vibe a little bit that anything could happen in these places. And it's also based a little bit on, before I started writing this, I had a family member who had a medical issue where he was diagnosed with something that was going to be, if the diagnosis was correct, really bad. And we had to pay for all these tests and go to all of these different things. And it wiped out our savings. And it turned out it was a misdiagnosis. He was fine. But there were months where we had to spend just talking about, like, how can we afford this? What can we do to keep you well? What can we do? And so a lot of that emotions and feelings ended up in Lakewood. I didn't realize when I started it that I was going to be writing in some ways through this like frustration and fear I'd had over this. Oh, still upset every time I talk about it. But it's also one of those things that I'm also kind of upset now talking about it, because it seems like a conversation a lot of us are having to have again. It's how can we afford during this health crisis to keep everyone we know and love alive? So that's also part of the root of Lakewood. And I'm going to just read to you all from the beginning of chapter 5. And all you really need to know is that the book is about a young woman named Lena Johnson. She's a college student. And her grandmother, and you'll find this on page 1, so it's not a spoiler, her grandmother has just died. And her mom has an undiagnosable illness where there's a lot of health issues. And Lena, because of this, is in charge of now of all the family's money situation and loans. So she's trying to find a job, and she gets offered to be a part of her research study. And what I'm going to read from you is from the first day of being there. This book looks so big next to me. Anyway. So the first session was with a blonde woman who introduced herself as Dr. Lisa. She was the type of tall, muscular woman who, despite looking close to 50, people still probably asked if she played volleyball or basketball. They started the session by going into the small garden behind her office and walking together as the day slowly warmed, frost melting on the grass. "How often do you read the news?" Dr. Lisa asked. "Not much. Between school and work and family, I always feel behind. Although I guess maybe that's a good thing right now. Still, how much do you think the news you read influences the ways you see the world?" A small burst of cloud puffed out of Dr. Lisa's mouth with each word. Embarrassed, Lena's voice cracked as she said she didn't think she could truly answer the question. She looked down at the daffodils, so bright compared to anything that was inside the doctor's office. The sunlight made the doctor's hair look more white than blonde. "Do you believe in a higher power?" the doctor asked. "I want to." The wind gusted, pushed the daffodils around, trailed its fingers through the grass and tree branches. "What are your views on how America treats women?" "Can you repeat the question?" "What," Dr. Lisa said very slowly, "are your views on how America treats women?" "I don't think that's a fair question." Dr. Lisa stopped walking. For the first time, her eyes were directly on Lena's face, not on the clipboard she was carrying or on a bird's progress. "Tell me why." "It forces me to make an assessment about all women. I'm 1,000% sure there are plenty of white women who think America is great to them. But I think America is only routinely good to women, especially Black women, when it wants something from them." "Well, how is that different from men?" Some birds bickered on a tree branch, then flew off into the bright blue sky. "I think men can be absolutely useless, and a lot of people will find a way to say something nice about them, especially white men. But a woman, she has to be something. If she's not, considered hot or the right amount of smart or good at cooking or something like that, people don't see her. And if she's too much of something, then a lot of people hate her. Isn't that a little cynical? Demoralizing?" Lena shrugged. The tip of her nose felt cold, as if it would start running soon. "Sometimes, but most of the time, because it's the way things are, I don't think about it consciously. I just deal with it." "I think I understand what you're saying," Dr. Lisa said, her voice slow and thoughtful. She scribbled something. Lena brought her hands up to her mouth and blew on them, clapped a few times. "I think you're ready. Let's go inside." And I guess I'll stop there for now.
I remember reading that. It's so weird because I remember reading that on the subway. I remember picturing them, I remember exactly where I was when I was reading that, and they were interviewing her, and it's such a, I don't know. It's a very complex, powerful, compelling book that you've written here, and I think that she she's just such a, I mean, look, she feels like she has to do this, you know? And I don't know, it's just, it's got such a real authentic ring to it, I feel. I mean, how do you feel about it now that it's done and it's out there, you know?
You know, it's been harder for me to process before everything that's been going on. There were like set ways where, like, on the day the book was going to come out, I was going to have a release party in the town I live in. And so many of the students, I teach lifelong learning. Actually, that some of it's through our library system. And a lot of my students were so excited to come and talk about it because I've been teaching for about 1.5 years to them. So they've heard about like all the progress and gone through things. And I felt kind of like that was going to make things feel real, like it was out there in the world. And I think I'm also a little sad because like on a positive side, I think my book resonates a lot more with a lot of people because of what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
But it also makes me upset that that's the reason why it's happening. Like, I wrote this in kind of an exaggerated way to talk about some problems we were having before this. And now it feels like everything that was subtext is made text in the book.
Mm.
Wow.
It's just kind of, I don't know. I'm going to be thinking about this time in my life, I think, for a long time because so many things are happening.
Yeah. Yeah, for so many reasons. But I think that, you know, I don't know, maybe you could do something with your class and, you know, on this sort of a platform. I mean, it's kind of an effective way to literally shine a light on.
Yeah, I mean, we keep hoping that we'll get to see each other in like May, but I think it's so optimistic right now.
I
So
know.
we'll probably do something else eventually.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it certainly doesn't take away from, you know, the excitement and for having accomplished this. I mean, it's a big deal. You've got this book that, you know, tongues are wagging at Harper, and they have been since we got the manuscript. So you should, you know, I know you're proud of yourself, and you should be. I mean, this is a really important book. Definitely taking on a different or another layer given today. But you know, it's an honor to meet you and to talk to you and to hear what you have to say about the book. And it's books like yours that make our life at work easy, because when the book is this good, it's a joyful thing for us to share the word, spread the word about this book. So we will continue to do that through lots of different ways. Right now, this is the way we're doing it. And we thank you so much for coming on and reading and talking to us and sharing what you have to say with us and with librarians. And we wish you and your loved ones well, you know, good health, and just congratulations.
Thank you so much. And I just have to say, even before everything, Harper has been so good to me through this process. I got to meet some of the people at Winter Institute, and everyone from like the sales rep team to the publicist to everybody, I felt so much reassured, like that you kind of wonder when the book's about to come out, like, should I have written this book? Did I? But then it was kind of this deeply reassuring thing to have just so many people who they've invested so much time and energy and belief into your book. It means the world to me. I've never expected to feel anything like this in writing. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh my goodness.
It's wonderful, and it's beautiful from cover to cover. Jacket's amazing. It's so arresting, really, that jacket.
Yeah.
And Lainey, can you share it? Can you share the actual jacket so that we can actually put a big image up. And yeah, we will post this on Facebook, and there will hopefully be, I'm sure there will be questions and comments, so we'll send them to you, and then maybe you could answer them.
Yeah, definitely. I'm around.
Okay. But, then we can edit this, but there you go. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The cover artist is Yulia Bass, and her work is extraordinary. Oh, man.
I know. It's just, that's a showstopper right there. It really is quite arresting. It's compelling, really. So it's very striking, as is the rest of the book. So, Megan, thank you. You take good care, and we will be in touch with questions and comments that we hope you'll answer for all once this is up. And be well. All right.
It was nice to see all of you.
Nice to see you, Megan. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. That was lovely. She was lovely. And yes, to publish this book in this time, I'm sure has added another layer of complexity to an already complex story. But do pick it up, because it's really, it will stay with you long after you've turned that last page.
Definitely.
So that's it for today, but we're going to be back again on Thursday with romance. A fine romance. All right. Until then, take good care, be well, and Library Love Fest signing off.
Bye all.